Hey you, yeah, you, don't tell Aarya, but I'm gonna be making a surprise for his birthday. We're gonna be creating a website for him of things that he would like to, get, but might be a bit too expensive for him. So let's get started. We're gonna do a birthday present and a tutorial all in one. Okay, so in this source folder right here, I have the completed website, but remember this is a project video, so I'm going to go step by step and show you different blocks of the code and show you how they built together to create this cute little website for Aarya's birthday. Okay, so this is going to be the first part of Aarya's birthday catalog website. So as you can see, we have a nice little header right here. This is the first time you've probably seen a header with a background image, so I'm going to go over how to do that. And then we also have this text shadow right here. You might not see it, and I'll show you the difference between text that has a text shadow and text that doesn't. And you'll see how it can change the look of text to make it look really nice and appealing. Okay, so let's get into the code. The HTML is very simple. We just have a div with a class of header, and we have a h1 and a h3. Very simple stuff. The CSS is where it gets a bit more complicated. So first we have our general CSS reset. You should have this on basically every HTML website because without it, you'll have this. Second, let me show you. Your website looks kind of funky like this. Okay, and then right here in the body, we're going to text align everything, and as you can see, it's text aligned right here. Oh, let me reload the page. And then we're going to have a background color of a nice red shade. And then for the header, we're going to give it a width of 100% so that it stretches out throughout the entire page. We're going to give it a height of 300 pixels. We're going to, I'll come back to this later, but basically this is how you make a background image. We're going to link the background image to a URL, which is cake.jpg right here. So this stuff is very simple. Now, the complicated stuff is this background size and background position. So in order to see what that can do for you, it's good to play around with these things. So without background size cover, this is what the, oh, sorry, wrong thing. Without background size cover, this is what the website would look like. Yeah, not so appealing, right? Because it's not covering the entire page, therefore it's just repeating it over and over and over again. Cover just makes it so that the image covers the entire span of the div, which is the header. So let's add that back in there. And then this background position, let's see what it looks like without it. So it's always good to experiment like this, and I've said that a lot of times already. But without it, now we're just seeing the strawberry, not the cake. So what this does is this allows us to position the center of our image. So it allows us to choose what's the main part of our image. So right now the top center is the main part of our image, but right here we can make the center or even the bottom center the focus of our image. So right here you can see it focuses on the bottom. If we do bottom left, then it'll focus, or I guess it won't focus on the bottom left because it's spanning a width of 100%. But if you had an image that was like 50%, it would focus on the bottom left. So in order to make your headers look appealing, I always recommend to use center for the background position. And just as a warning, right now I am fasting, so my speech might sound a bit muddled. So again, sorry about that. I'll try to speak the best I can. So right now, this looks the best in my opinion because it shows the cake, it shows the strawberries, it looks really nice. Okay, now this is stage one. I think I'm going to show you one more stage to show you how you use display inline block to make your catalog. Just a quick note, text shadow is how we made the text pop out. Without the text shadow, we'd get something like this. So it might not be noticeable, but there is a difference. Right now there's no red at the back. So if you do this, you can see that there's a tiny bit of a difference. Here, let me make it more apparent for you. Let me move it. So increasing this basically moves the text shadow by a certain amount. So see how we move the text shadow a bit, so now it's more apparent. We can make this 10 pixels, and this will move it down, and we can make this parameter 10 pixels, and this will move it, one second, let me reload the page, to the right, and you can also use negative pixels if you want. I don't know why you would. So usually it's good practice to keep the pixels the same, and the color kind of should contrast off of, oh god, the color should kind of contrast off of the header color that you're using. And yeah, the padding and all of that, you can take a look at that. I just added some padding so that there's space between the top and our header so that it looks nicer. But this is all stuff that you should know by now. And again, feel free to look at the code. The source code is down in the description below. Now let's get on to part 2, where we actually create a catalog for Aarya. Okay, so here it is, Aarya's catalog. So again, for you guys are going to be creating a catalog of something that you like, maybe your favorite Pokemon or your favorite, I don't know, just something that you like to catalog or keep track of, kind of like a wish list of sorts, right? So this is Aarya's wish list, based on what I know. He really likes his pianos, so what he would like to get from me, if I had the money, would be this $900 Roland RP 102 88 key digital piano. Basically a good piano. And then, of course, Hypixel. If you play Minecraft, you know that Hypixel is like the biggest server out there, and the MVP Plus perk is the biggest perk in that server. So he would love to grab that perk, definitely. Because it is pretty fun. You get to play a lot of private games with your friends and all of that. So besides that, let's figure out how we added this nice border and how we use display inline block to make a 2x2 grid. And this is a way of making websites. You don't have to do a 2x2 grid always. You could do a 3x3 grid. You could just do one div, one div, one div. But I do want to teach you how to make a 2x2 grid, because that's what websites usually do. They use like a grid to show their divs. So if you go to our code, we have a div class section, which is like our row, right? And then each row has 3 divs inside of it. So this is a bit different than the skill video. We have 2 box classes, right? Like this. But here's a tactic that I use to space out an area in the middle. I create a 3rd div called spacing, and I'll show you in the CSS what exactly that does. And this is just a repeat. So let's go to the CSS right now. And here it is. So first, dot box, we add display inline block, of course. Margin top 2% just adds a small space right here to make them spaced out. 40% is the width of the div. We added a border. Now this is something that you might have not experimented with yet, but basically try to go crazy with this border. Here's an example of what you could do. You could change the border top to maybe a different color, like blue. Let's see how that looks. Who knows? Just play around with it, right? Right now I just did a very simple red border with a groove style. You can change that if you want to. And then the background color, I added a different one because I thought it would look nicer that way. Now for the image, I kept it the same width of sorts, because if we don't do that, then there's going to be a problem. So let me just get rid of that. And now you see how the images are of different sizes, therefore the divs look horrible. So there are ways to fix this, but they are a bit advanced, so I just recommend keeping your images the same size, like I did right here. And then finally, the little hack that I'm going to show you. So without this, what would the divs look like? they wouldn't even be in line. But basically, there would be very little space in between them. But the way you can add space is you create, if you go to the index.html, you create a div class spacing in between the two divs, the div class box and the second div class box. And within the spacing, you specify a width. Like I want to add a spacing of like 5%. I could increase this to like 7.5%. And as you can see, there's a greater spacing. So that's a nice little trick that you can use. And that's basically it for this video. Again, you might see this much later than when Aarya's birthday was, but if you see it around the same time as Aarya's birthday, make sure you say happy birthday to him. He's been helping a lot out in YCW. He's been editing the videos, updating the website, helping you guys on the Discord. So even if it's not his birthday, just give him a shout out. Say thanks, Aarya. Thanks for all your help. That's all for today's video. Can't wait to see you when you create your amazing catalog of your favorite whatever it may be.